Yes, yes, and yes. We are on Series 2, Episode 4. Welcome here, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on out. Thanks for coming to visit with me in Nashville, Tennessee. I am not from Nashville, Tennessee. I have been here for a good stretch. Really cool town for multiple reasons. Being artistically inclined and a musician and that fun stuff. I do play in a band locally, which is kind of fun. Talk to you about that at some point, maybe. Cold, getting cold, but not a big fan of the weather in Nashville, Tennessee. But we're here, and today is the day. We're doing Episode 4, Season 2. Come a long way. Got a long way to go. Guys, we got a long way to go on this thing. Whew, I'll tell you, this stuff, it's, without a comparable close second, the most mind-blowing information anybody can look at ever in the history of the world. There's nothing close, guys. I don't know why more people don't have the inclination. Not sure. We're going to fix that. That's what we're doing. This is my personal goal to get as much as I can recorded on this subject matter on this channel. Being like our Father in heaven and all the stuff that goes along with it, because really it is the thing that we're born for, as we've looked at. If this is the first time you've been here on this channel, we've come a long way so far. As mentioned, Be Catholic ? This is a channel dedicated to looking at not just the modern way of looking at things, but also looking at all of the history relative to the subject matter of the human potential and what we're here on earth to do, answering the 4 philosophical questions of who am I, where did I come from and before I was born, and where am I going after I die? The big ones. Because we cannot build a family or a community or a country or a world without knowing this information, guys. We keep doing it over and over and over, year after year, decade, centuries, thousands of years. We're just plugging along and we're missing the whole point. Now, not everyone always has missed the point. There's been some incredible people through the history of the world, recorded history. And I have to imagine there's been some incredible people in the unrecorded history. And we're looking at all of it. We're going to look at all of it. No stone unturned to find the human potential. Now, I've been studying the history of the world, especially the history and the human potential. And what does that look like, and who's the greatest of the best of the best, the greatest of the best? And I'll tell you, I've looked in every culture throughout the history of the world. There's been some amazing people doing some amazing things, but when it comes to comparing to Jesus of Nazareth, there is no close second. There is just nobody. I mean, we got all kinds of cool and groovy people. Today in the modern world, some people really, serious about being kind and loving people. Love that. And I don't care what you're doing. If where you're at, and if that is your thing, yes, yes to all of that. From Jesus' perspective, him and his guys, God is love, and those who love know God. And those who don't, right? And the Catholic Church, they've got an interesting perspective on that subject matter that I've been, and I've been studying this now for over 2 years. Let me stop there and just say, look, if this is where you first come in, if this is the first time you've been on this channel in the first video, this is not the best place to start. I want to encourage you with all that I can. including my wee puppy that's running around. If you see her in the background, we're not sure if she's a toy Russian Terrier or if a Chihuahua, but she's got really big ears. Her name's Ketsi, which is Hebrew for cinnamon. And if you happen to see her in the background, you'll get to see why she's called cinnamon, because that's what color she is. So that's a side note. And that little jingle that you might have heard, that's her coming to help us. So, and she's guarding the place, which is we're all grateful for. Anyways, coming back. Right. So, if you're into love and compassion, look, you're getting it. And from my perspective, that's the beginning the beginning of it. Beginning of all things is love and compassion. If that's not really your gig, that's tough. I can't encourage you more to consider, hey, let's be as loving and kind as we can be. It's tough, I know. It's a tough planet to be on. It's dangerous. There's some pretty foul stuff going on, and some pretty dark forces at work. It's tough to be a loving, compassionate person. In fact, if we really want to talk about the strength of the human constitution, there is nothing close to the strength that it takes to be a loving, compassionate person. People think, oh, that's soft. Oh, heck no. And I'm on the Jesus of Nazareth thing, and I'll tell you, he says, love your enemies. And if you don't, that's a big problem. And that's hard. And without his help, I'm not sure that's possible. Without the creator of all things helping, I think we're in big trouble. We've seen the mess, and now God's omnipresent and he's omnipotent and all those omni things that we want to talk about. And so he's intimately involved with things that are going on, but due to the nature of the way he created us to be like him, we have free will to say, no, I don't want to be loving. And that is the definition of evil, oddly enough. You might consider the definition of that. That is void of love. That's what evil is, right? Some people are so damaged that they really just love that, or I don't know. That's for a future episode and maybe even a series of the nature of evil. I've considered it heavily over the years and have experienced it in ways that I'm not going to get into today. But the force of darkness is a real thing. But the forces of light and love, that's, what's the darkness going to do when you shine the light? It's got nothing. So this whole thing of where we're all at, we're at different places relative to what we understand and what we've been taught and the culture and community we've grown up in and all that stuff. So, I guess some people get a bit judgmental when looking at other people, and that's not helping. That's quite, not only is being judgmental hurting the people that are around you, but it's damaging yourself at the same time. Creator of the universe is a big proponent of the idea of not judging, right? Judge not, lest you be judged. To the degree that you judge, so you will be judged. It really is the opposite of love. People want to take the speck out of their brother's eye when they've got a log in their own, Jesus talks about. It's hypocritical for us to be judgmental if we really understand the nature of who we are, what we are designed to be, and where we're really at. And that's, for most of us, not a comparable place to where we're designed to be, which is the whole point of this channel. Be Catholic ? What I've been really loving about looking at Catholicism, being a huge student of Protestant evangelical theology, is I was wrong on so many things about Catholicism, like all of it, really. I had some preconditioning that kept me from looking at Catholicism for a list of reasons. Many people probably know it. They, have got some degree of their own judgment against Catholicism for many reasons. Some of which, there's some legitimate concerns, but they're not insurmountable by any means. And they are the church that Jesus started. It's his church, actually. We'll get into that in the future. And I bring it up just to help you understand, again, if this is the first episode that you've watched on this channel, there's a lot that we need. We need help desperately, super desperately. We need help. If we're going to be like our Father in heaven. And, I really pushed the boundaries of that through, studying everything but Catholicism, to be frank. And then finally I got challenged and I had reached my ceiling. And I was challenged, hey, have you considered this? And I'm like, no. And they're like, really? You should. And I'm, and at that point I was finally in a place I'm like, well, I got nothing to lose because I've looked at everything else, and incredibly, there was the information that I needed to, continue in my development. Catholic theology, there's, three major categories. There's dogma, which is the things that God requires us to believe in order to develop mentally, spiritually, physically. There is morals and ethics, and those are parallel with the dogma, and that gets into a lot of logic and reason relative to the way we were designed. Mandates to consider that are non-dogmatic. Not to get into that. But there's also asceticism and mysticism, the third category, of which has blown my mind. And what that is it's really getting into the supernatural aspects of who we are as humans, the way we were designed to be godly, godlike, holy, Christ-like, all of those words that we find in sacred scripture and with the early church fathers and through the history of Catholicism. The Reformation, Luther had some great points. Honestly, he had some great points. But the challenge was, and when he 91, I think, issues he had, it wasn't his intention to leave God's church at that point, but due to some challenges with the church in the area that he was in, and maybe to some degree his attitude, it turned into a big problem. And it ended up in a massive problem because he said, heck with it, I'm just going to leave. Instead of sticking it out to work on those things, revelations that he had. Maybe they were from God. I don't know. But it turned into a major, major problem. Because now all of a sudden, we have all this stuff that happened that, don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing the Catholicism, as I've learned, recognizes Protestants as spiritual brothers and sisters. That's a long discussion that I can't get into at this point. But I want to bring this stuff up because, that's part of the foundation that I'm building on is that really, we wouldn't have the Bible without Catholicism. There'd be no Bible. There'd be no church. Literally, and everything that I'm reading and studying and sharing with you right now is actually Catholicism. Now, however you want to take it, if you're, from a Protestant perspective, well, it's still, not a whole lot different than necessarily what you might understand and believe, or at least recognize as, Christian. There are some denominations that don't consider the godliness aspect of humanity here this side of heaven, and I'm, no offense, but I'm adverse with that. I've seen way too much, experienced way too much, and studied way too much. I believe when God says, "Be holy as I am holy," He really means that. as we've been looking at in series 1 of being like our Father in heaven, design, the divine blueprint. We were literally created to be like our Father in heaven. And we have an eternity in that. Now, there's some theological discussions about how much development we have post-earth. I'm considering all of that and looking at it. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it. But we got an eternity, and thank goodness that's going to be our relationship with our Father in heaven. And he wants us to be like him. So do we get it all done before we spend close and intimate heaven time with him? That's open for discussion, I suppose. But we're working on it. Let's get there as far as we can on this side. There is a subject matter called purgatory, which we haven't got into, but we will. And it's an important subject matter, which is kind of the in-between stage between here and the throne room of heaven, that helps us purify, helps us become Christ-like. And that's a whole other discussion outside of the bounds of today. So we are in season 2, episode 4. Woo, we are making some moves, y'all. Yes, we are. I got some verses for us to get into today on the subject matter of the series 2, dialoguing with heaven, dialoguing with God. We were designed, we were built to communicate with God. We looked in the previous episodes of Adam and Eve talking with God, dialoguing. Cain and Abel talked with God. So many, Jeremiah telling us to God saying, if we seek him with our whole heart, he'll reveal himself. Fascinating stuff. And we're moving forward in all of that now with some more verses. We got to change the way that we think about this stuff so that our faith can be built, that we can ultimately make our daddy in heaven happy, right? Our Father in heaven. I want to make him happy. I want to be in a mindset that I want to talk to him. I want to come the right way. I want to be the way that he wants me to be. He wants me to be the way he wants me to be, and you and all of us, right? Because he wants a family, as we looked at in previous episodes. So more today, we've got a couple of verses that we're going to look at to help that rewiring of the way that we think relative to what the truth is. Truth will set us free. Free to do what? To be like our Father in heaven. Woohoo! All right. Let's get at it, because we're up to 18 minutes already. Listen, everything that I'm saying right now is critical, in my opinion, that we understand. So that's why I'm sharing it. With that said, I want to look at a couple sections of verses. Matthew chapter 18, verse 2 through 4. And we're going to start really digging into this dialoguing with heaven. How do we get there? First of all, we got to believe that we can, and then we got to be in the doing part, right? So Matthew 18, verse 2 through 4 reads like this. This is such a huge thing. Seems simple, and it's simple, but is it easy? Well, that comes to our why we're here today. This is Jesus talking, and he is the creator of the universe, right? I think if God's saying something, we might just pay attention, right? Seems like a good idea to me. He's the one who made us. If we follow the instructions in the manual, we're going to be like him. And so we just got to kind of get over that. If Jesus says something, look, let's just get at it, right? I'm not really a religious type, quote unquote, but when it comes to following instructions, like trying to get this camera together and the computer and all this stuff and make it work, okay, if you don't follow, one little thing will keep any of it from working the way it's supposed to. Let that sink in. How much more complicated is what we're talking about? Simple, but if it's simple to hit a button, but if you don't do it, it's not recording, right? That's why every episode, as I'm working on things, I can't even tell you how many hours of study I've had to get to the point to be able to record all this. Yeah. So how does that relate to what we're talking about? Well, listen, and this is simple, but if you don't do it, it's going to keep things from functioning properly. Here we go. Matthew, where were we again? Matthew 18, verse 2 through 4. Jesus speaking. And calling to him a child, said, hey, Joseph, come on over here. Whatever his name was. He put him in the midst of them with his disciples. Verse 3, and said, truly, I say to you, unless you turn and become like a child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself or herself like a child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Gee, that sounds so simple, doesn't it? You could just read right through that. But if you noticed, I emphasized in a couple of places, right? Because this is just like hitting a button on a camera. If you don't, then the picture's not getting taken. This is what he's saying. I'm going to read it again because it's so critical. Guys, we got to get this. Pride is our problem. Pride is the inhibitant. Humility is the secret sauce. And calling to him, just picture this, right? And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, truly, I say to you, unless you turn and become like a child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles, now here's the solution. Whoever humbles himself like a child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Are you really that buttoned up? Am I really that buttoned up? Am I all that, I'm just so intelligent and so smart? And, in the world that I live in, those things are considered by my peers. But I'll tell you the truth, they have missing it. I need to be like a little kid. Me being all buttoned up and smart and intelligent and that's the opposite. I need to be humble and like a child that's malleable, teachable. Like a good child is like having a good attitude. I remember when I was a little kid being around my dad, I just wanted to hang out and go do things with him. He'd teach me things. I just loved that, right? Well, Jesus is teaching his guys, and he's like, look, the only way I'm going to be able to teach you is if you're humble like a child. You got to be like a child. Do we want to talk to God? We are designed for it. We proved that in the last episodes. We are designed for it. It's intended for us. We're supposed to be. It's the way we're supposed to be. Communicating with our Father in heaven. Our daddy in heaven in Hebrew. The word Father, that word in Hebrew means daddy. We have to humble ourselves like children. And if we don't, we're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven, but our ability to communicate with the creator of all things, a king. Imagine this, our dad, your dad, my dad, he's the king. That's kind of cool. I like that. That makes me a prince and you a prince or princess. That's pretty cool. Meditate on that for a minute. It's critical because that's the truth. Let that set you free. Unless we become like little children. Humble as a child. For he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. If you're going to work on anything, work on this. You want to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Well, yeah, that'd be great. It's not really a competition for me, but yeah, I want to be the greatest. Sure. All right, I got to be like a child. Whew. Tell you what. So in conjunction with that, relative to that, if you come like as humble as a child, apply that and now add this to the equation. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 through 12, Jesus speaking again, keeping that context in mind. Ask, and it will be given to you. Search, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who searches finds. And for everyone who knocks, the door will be open. Is there anyone among you who, if a child asks for bread, give him a stone? Or if a child asks for a fish, he will give him a snake? No. Verse 11, if then you who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to you who asks? That's the equation. A lot of people read this verse, and I have before too, and I missed the whole children part of it. I missed that part. Let me read again in the context of he who's humble and is as a child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. If you want to make God happy, if you want to talk to him, you come like a little child. You come any other way, and he's going to be like, look, this is disordered. Pride comes before the fall. Love that verse. It's just like, woo, yeah. Let me read it again, because this is so huge today. This episode today, guys, is all on this. It's we need some things from heaven in order for us to be like our Father. Like, this is so insanely huge, but so insanely simple. We can't do it on our own. We got to do it his way. His way says, come as a child. Okay, let's read it again. Ask. I want to talk to you, Dad. I really want to talk to you. Ask, and it will be given to you. Search. How do I do this, Father? What do I got to do? I need the information, and you will find. Knock. Dad, help. Help. And the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who searches finds. And everyone who knocks, the door will be open. Is there anyone among you who, if your child, see the juxtaposition, child to father? That's what we're talking about. Asks for bread, will give a stone. Or if a child asks for a fish, will he give a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father, Daddy in heaven, give good things to those who ask? Good things, the things that God needs and wants us to have. Good things. Not millions of dollars, although that'd be great to, be a help and blessing to others, if managed properly. See, we got to be like a child, guys. If we don't do it, we're stuck. We got to just say yes. We got to say yes to this childlike thing. Okay. There's a ton of other verses that I could get into, but I'm going to leave it at that today. Guys, this is huge. You do this. You put this together. Ask, knock, seek. Daddy, from a child perspective, you will talk and dialogue with the King of the universe, the creator of all things. Yes. Let me leave it with you. It's episode 4, series 2, finished. Thank you so much for being a part of this and tuning in. I know there's going to be few people, but I hope one day that a lot of people will see this stuff. Let me leave it there. Leave some comments, some concerns, some questions, some links to stuff, whatever. Subscribe, like, and let me leave it right there. Bless you. Thank you so much for being a part of today's episode. Bless you.